Hello and welcome to AR on AR. I'm Adam Rose, and today we're going to be looking at compasses. What I also want to do just quickly is give a shout out to Bend Racing, who have generously decided to support this channel. They run Expedition Oregon, which is America's toughest race, so check them out, although currently I believe the race is sold out completely. Anyway, hopefully this episode will demystify how to use this thing. The best part about adventure racing, in my opinion anyway, is the navigation. Why? Because you get to use your brain. In fact, I would say navigating is running with intelligence. I know that's going to annoy a few people who like to run on marked courses, but that places it, in my opinion, above all other endurance sports. It's also a huge challenge to use your brain when you're sleep deprived, exhausted, lost the plot completely. So it not only challenges you to get the bearings correct, but to do it in a state that isn't ideal for navigating. In my position, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so it gives me great satisfaction to be able to outwit other teams that are younger, faster, fitter, and I see them head off at a great clip. And later on, as I'm getting near the checkpoint, I see them coming up behind me. Okay, so adventure racing enables you to use this to beat other teams, not simply how strong you are or how fit you are or how capable you are as a paddler, as a biker, as a runner. I'm standing here in North Wales. What's significant about this particular spot is it's next to the highest pub in the UK. But from an adventure racing point of view, this has a different appeal. And what you see behind me are the moors up here in northeast Wales. And they present a real challenge when it comes to navigating. They're featureless, bare, no buildings, no trees, no nothing. And if you're having to navigate across that kind of stuff, especially either in the dark or if the mist came down, fog came down, it's really, really tricky. And that's when you really are going to be relying on a compass. If you can see where you're going, of course, there's no problem. Down there in the distance, I have a lake. And right now, if I wanted to walk over to that lake, I don't need a compass. I just walk in a straight line. I can see it the whole time. It's going to be really easy to navigate to it. But in the real world, when I try head for a destination, there might be hills in the way, there might be trees, there might be mountains, all sorts of things. And so, especially in those circumstances, you're going to have to use the compass so that you know you're going in the right direction, what we call the right bearing. Okay, the method required in using a compass is two things. You need to know where you are, and you need to know where you're going. If you don't know where you are, then you need to retrace your steps until you reach a point where you do know where you are, and then work from that position going forward. Okay, so let's look at a compass first of all. What I'm holding in my hands here is what's commonly referred to as a base plate compass. There are other kinds of compasses, which I'll show you later on. But this is a base plate compass, and it has various parts that you need to identify correctly, of course. At the very top here, we have the directional arrow. I call it the base plate arrow, just to keep it kind of simple. We have the bezel, which rotates, and the bearings around the outside of this bezel, the degrees, 0 to 360 degrees in this case. And within this rotating bezel, there is an orienting arrow, a red orienting arrow. And then thirdly, there's the magnetic needle of the compass. And of course, that magnetic needle should be pointing towards north. So, base plate, directional arrow, rotating bezel with orienting arrow, and the magnetic needle. Okay, now if I want to head towards that lake, as I said, right now I can see it, so I probably wouldn't need to use a compass. But let's assume I'm heading in that direction and I'm going to lose sight of it, so I want to take a bearing. So it's really, really simple. I point the compass, the directional arrow, where I want to go, which is in the direction of that lake. And then I rotate the bezel so that the red orienting arrow matches the red magnetic needle in exactly the same direction. That's what we call red in the shed. And as long as those two red arrows align with each other, I can just follow the direction indicated by the base plate arrow. So I'd probably stand behind it, just walk in that direction, keeping this ahead of myself. That's it. What I have to be careful about is as I follow that directional arrow, I don't start wandering off the bearing that I'm following. What would happen then is the red magnetic needle is going to move out of the red orienting arrow. So the red would get out of the shed. You can see here as I move it to the left or to the right, it's getting out of the shed. But as long as I keep it in the shed, I just follow that directional arrow. And the bearing in this case is about 214 degrees. That's how you use a compass. Okay, usually in adventure racing, you're not navigating just with a compass, you've been issued with a map. Okay, so the first thing to do with a map is to find out where you are. If you don't know where you are, you can't know where you're going. So I've identified exactly where I am on the map. That's the first step. Second step, find out where north is using the red magnetic needle on your compass, which is currently off in that direction. And this being a UK map, UK maps are printed with north arrows. Most maps are printed with that. So what I need to do is align the north arrows on the map with the red magnetic needle. So I've done that now. They're both in exactly the same direction. That means this map is now oriented to this landscape. On this map, for example, it says there's a body of water off in that direction. I can't see it physically from where I'm standing, but looking on the map, I know if I head in that westerly direction, I'll reach a body of water. It's obviously over the hill and down the other side. Likewise, there's a forest off camera off to the right there. I can see it on the map here. I know if I head in that direction, because it's all oriented, I will reach that forest. And of course, that body of water you can see behind me is on the map. Rotate the compass from your current position to the direction you want to go to, which we'll just take as the lake behind me. So it doesn't have to be on top of the map of where I want to go. You can just put it parallel so you're not obscuring the map. So I've put it off to the side so it's not obscuring the lake I actually want to head to. It's exactly the same bearing though. And then, showing what I did earlier, I rotate the bezel to put red in the shed. So red's in the shed. I know where I'm heading. I can actually put that map away now, get behind the compass, and follow the directional arrow on the base plate. Okay, so just quickly to mention the kinds of compasses that are commonly found in adventure racing. As I said, here is a base plate compass. That's what most people tend to have with them. Here we have a wrist compass. I really swear by these things. The benefit of using one of these, although it doesn't have a directional arrow in the same way that a base plate does, it's very convenient. So I wear it on my wrist like a wristwatch. It's got a rotating bezel. It's got bearings. I can put red into the shed. But the advantage of this type of compass is it's always visible. So if I'm walking with walking poles, I can glance at my wrist and make sure I'm heading in the right bearing. Or if I'm on my bike, I don't have to take my hands off the handlebars. I can, again, just glance at my wrist. Or you could even use it kayaking. Just stop, pause, make sure you're heading in the right direction, which is so much more convenient than something that's hanging around your neck. You can imagine on a bicycle, you don't want to be looking down, trying to pick up a compass, a base plate compass, while you're cycling to try and make sure you're heading in the right direction. And then thirdly, I don't often use these, but you will see them occasionally on adventure racing. It's called a sighting compass. It has a mirror, and the idea behind this mirror, the little hole at the bottom, is you point the compass in the direction you intend to go. Through the small hole at the base of the mirror, you can actually see your destination. And when you're looking at your destination like this, the bearing is reflected from the compass up into the mirror. So I can look at my destination, and I don't want to come up here and look down. That's what you have to do on a base plate. Here, by looking where I want to head, I can see the bearing that I need to follow. You wouldn't walk like this, of course, you'll fall over things, but it's a very useful way of being able to see the destination and the bearing at one time, rather than you would with a base plate where you're holding it down here and trying to look ahead at your destination. You will find them occasionally in adventure racing. Okay, hopefully that was useful for you. Go ahead and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And as a final little tip, join an orienteering club. It's probably the best way you'll learn to recover from mistakes, learn how to read a map correctly. It's the path that I took when on an adventure race that will remain nameless, I made a 40-kilometer error on a trekking leg. I wasn't the only person to do it, but I can't blame anybody else. It was my wake-up call saying, I need to get this thing sorted. As a navigator, you don't want to be making 40-kilometer mistakes. Okay, I'll admit it. All right, see you next time. Thanks.